make sure the pastor smokes cigars.
Which he passed pretty quickly. Seems like it right now. What's up, man? How you doing?
So I love starting
Can you bring that red
holy
torch with you when you come
burnt
back?
offerings without the guys knowing, because then you guys can hear like some crazy stuff that goes on ahead of time.
What?
Oh,
What?
we're
here. We're listening.
okay. Well, so anyway,
Say that out loud.
welcome to burnt offerings.
Can you bring the torch over?
Oh, sure, we'll get a torch. So, just real briefly, burnt offerings is where a few friends get together and we have a great cigar at noon.
Do you want to do
Every
comments, or you wanna do
Tuesday.
Judges. Oh, actually, I just.
And we unpack Judge Petrocelli's verse of the day. So Judge has been putting this out for, I don't know, gosh, it's got to be a year. I mean, we're almost done with the Bible. We must be soon. I mean, he's done so many, but he does the verse of the day, he reads it, and he'll summarize it into like one sentence. Sometimes he's brilliant and gets it in one sentence. It's amazing. So Judge isn't with us today. He's in Bakersfield, so he will not be joining us, at least not here live, but maybe online. Anyway, on Tuesdays, we choose to go ahead and unpack that sucker for a half hour over a great cigar. And that's what we call burnt offerings. So welcome, friends.
Do you have a punch?
Yeah.
Here, we got a cutter right here.
Yeah, it's for your
Cutter.
son. I posted Judge's
punch.
verse.
Yes, sir.
It's not Judge's verse. It's funny what it says.
I know, we say it's Judges. It's actually the Bible's
Yeah,
verse.
right. Post the Bible's verse.
It's Judge's pick.
And so, no Floyd today. He just told me he went to Cigars LTD.
Oh my gosh.
And so,
In Fig Garden?
no, in Clovis. So he said, I'll just catch you guys later. So,
It only takes 10 minutes to get there from here
we
to
are in
there.
Clovis.
That's right.
And we're in Clovis.
So I posted the verse of the day and Judge's comments.
Oh,
in
wow.
the comments already. So.
We are getting very highly technical. All right, so what I love to do is I love to avoid Judge's verse of the day on Tuesday so that we're completely organic on here. So none of us have read it as far as I know. You want to go ahead and read it?
Sure. It says, he says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Psalm 46:10. Here's Judge's comment. As we search for our Lord, he encourages us to stay calm and have confidence in who he is. He is and always will be praised everywhere. It's good. It's a good comment. Oh, good. Floyd said, fine, Eric, on my way.
Ah, nice. Great, Floyd.
By the way, too, in case your whisper session with Eric, he didn't say to share this to your newsfeed.
I did not.
Go ahead and share this. It's a great way to bless some people in their life. A good midweek, a reminder of the goodness of God and of his word. So, all right. I'll read the verse again, and then we'll get some feedback from you guys. He says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. So what jumps out at you, gentlemen?
Sunday morning jumped out at me. I went to this little church on First Street, and they do a thing where, by the way, Joe pastors that church. It was a lesser quality week. Somebody else.
It'd
was
only be
doing
funny
the
if
sermon,
Brian
but
would ever watch these.
I know if Brian knew.
If he had actually watched one of the burnt offerings, it'd be funny.
Right. So there was something you guys inherited from the previous church that was there, the denomination, isn't it? The time of total silence. And I'll tell you what, if you're not used to sitting still and listening to God, it could be unnerving. And then you realize, man, when was the last time I was this quiet?
Yeah.
And actually was in a position of expecting to hear from the Lord.
Wow, that's cool.
I mean that's
it.
You could say, well, but that's the whole point of why.
But it's still kind of cool, though. It's like,
but that's all I could think of was this was like, that felt like 3.5 minutes, not 1 minute of silence. And I was praying, and then I'm like, okay. And then you can hear like a breath. I mean, it was so quiet.
Yeah.
It was so. And my mind started really getting weird. Anyway, so
that's really good.
First thought there.
That's even like you heard me say when I came out of it. I'm like, for some people that felt like a long time because it is. It's this. That stillness is not.
I will say that I have enjoyed the practice of shutting my radio off in between appointments.
Same.
And being able to actually just talk out
I've
loud.
done that since Joe suggested it.
I did it on the way here.
Oh, you did it on the way
I
here?
do it every time I'm in the car now. And then it's not that I don't turn the radio off. I just wait till I feel content, and then I turn it on. Then I turn it on. So it's like I'll turn on something, but not till after I've had some quiet time in the car.
Well, we have to be pro radio, don't we?
Yeah, and we do have to be pro radio.
Yeah.
Mostly
I found
KMJ.
lately, I'll turn the radio up, and then I'll start praying out loud, it feels weird when you're alone.
Yeah.
I don't commonly do it out loud when I'm alone. Even like the house could be empty, and I'll just have my lunch and I'll pray over it, and it's like it's still just in my head. So I started doing that while driving,
I've done it
because I never drive like anybody else.
I've done it before and realized it got out of hand when I realized I was yelling. Like, I was so loud going.
It always seems
Okay,
to
if
get really
someone's-
sick and deep.
Yeah, if someone sees this, I'm driving there. You know, you always wonder about those crazy people you see driving, talking to themselves.
I will let out a woo and a hand clap organically sometimes because he can. Because I'm so used to doing it now. I'll just be like something will hit me as I'm listening. I'll be like, woo, yeah! Like I'll do one of those. I'm like, oh, I must look insane to the people around
There's
me.
something to saying it out loud and proclaiming it. Because then all sides are good. Our enemy hears it, and the spirits that want us to succeed hear it, right?
Yeah.
There's something
Yeah.
big about saying it out loud.
There is something, and I tell people all the time, the salvation message in Romans is heart to mouth. So salvation is proclaimed, it's not just thought. And there's something to repentance that isn't just thought, it's proclaimed. You just start going through scripture, and it's like there is something to saying it. Like there's power in the spoken word. What does it say? I mean, James.
Jesus is the word.
Yeah. And then James says that our tongues hold the power of life and death.
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful stuff.
Revelations 19 says Jesus, the spirit of Jesus is the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. Then 1 Corinthians 14 defines
check.
prophecy
No.
as encouragement,
Fake news.
exhortation, consolation. All those are spoken words.
Yeah.
You can't encourage somebody without saying something to them.
And for you guys online too, this is for you. So type it right on there. What was your first thoughts when you read the verse? We're going to read it one more time, and we'll have some questions for you as we continue to unpack this. But first question is, what's your first thoughts when you hear this verse?
And it says this. He says, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. It's funny, we started with being still, and then we went to exalting.
Yeah.
We went to speaking. That's this passage actually goes organically with that. We're quiet, and then all of a sudden we're speaking, like in our stillness with God. It's very interesting. I'll give one more before I just want to just say that I believe that the idea of counseling is from God, because God is a wonderful counselor. So I think it's a gift because we're being like God. So another thing is like, it's one thing to process your own stuff, like in your own heart. But then to actually go to counseling, and a good counselor will just ask you questions where you speak what's going on with you, and then you cry. That's a very interesting dynamic. Is you kind of wrestle with it internally.
Wait, were you at Ryan Paneer's counseling?
Yeah, that's his. I think
He starts with crying.
He does.
He walks in and cries.
He cries.
He cries.
He says like, "I'm fine. I know what's wrong."
This is what happens when you don't come to burnt offerings, Ryan.
That's right.
He'll never even
the
see
roast.
this.
You never even see
He'll-
this. It's the Ryan roast. So it is this interesting piece of it. All right. So any other thoughts?
Confess with your mouth,
Yep.
and you'll be healed. So if I wanted to find the Prince of Clovis, what would I do?
You would ask the people.
The prince?
The Prince of Clovis. The Prince of Madeira. I would want to go to Madeira and
Well, you'd have to be there
Ask some
because
questions.
then you would say to Google, "Princes near me."
Yeah.
So you got to be there.
That's right.
You
You,
gotta-
you have to drive there.
You got to be there, or else you get.
That's right.
So, if I want to find the Prince of Peace, where do I go?
Good.
I have to go
Get peaceful.
to a place of peace
Yes.
to find the Prince of Peace.
That's good.
Be still.
Hold on, I got a little chills. I
true.
got chills.
It
You
is.
said that, and I thought about 100 years ago when you and I went backpacking and got in the middle of absolutely nowhere. Of course, we had
Amazing,
these
right?
green cigars called.
Can't even find them
They
anymore.
were solid green. They just looked
They were
bright
like
green,
yeah.
like iguanas or something. They called them.
So they hadn't aged the leaf. It was just like fresh
I
off
know
the tree.
it was a whole thing. But the point is, aside from the amazing food we ate,
They make them for St. Patrick's
there's
Day.
something about being completely away from any other
Yes.
people and hearing God talk. I mean, my brother-in-law was all about that. I mean, he just needed to get out of the city all the time. It's just, God is not in the city. No, he needed to get with nature, and that's how he felt God is
Well, the retreat experience,
in
the
nature.
getaway experience is always kind of the mountaintop experience,
Yeah.
it seems like.
Well, if you think about it, what you're really saying is the world is loud. I need someplace quiet because the world's it's loud. Even like being here, like if you're at your home, you still feel I have responsibility. So even if it's not volume, it's the
Stress.
loudness of of responsibility is there.
Stress is loud,
Yeah.
right? In the head.
It was loud. We were sitting here, and the fountain, we had to shut it off. It was so loud. It was overwhelming. When there was nothing else going on here,
Mm-hmm.
it just takes over.
Let me
So
see.
how do we get to stillness, Pastor?
It's funny.
In the middle of the stress and
I'll
confusion?
go back to that. Like I'll end there because I was thinking this. So, if you think about it, when you guys were on the mountain, and you thought, well, what do we need to do? Nothing. We're in a mountain. Like there's not right now. We've literally set aside this time. What's up, Floyd? Come sit. We've set aside this time. You gonna adjust it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Take a seat. We'll get Floyd in there too. So you guys go to the mountain. There we go. Nice. You still got
You
Devin?
can
Yep.
crop me out of
No,
there.
you're in there. You're
People
good.
don't want it.
Okay.
It's perfect. You have to Floyd have to lean in and scoot in a little.
Then can we say the verse real quick for Floyd?
Sure.
I was listening.
Okay, good. All right. So you go to the mountain, and one of the things that you start to just unpack, why is that easier? Why do I feel very peaceful? Well, you've kind of said, I've set aside the time. Right now, I don't have any responsibilities. I'm going to let those go. And actually, when I'd have to do leadership development, we would do what's called a check-in. The very first thing we did is, what's on your mind right now? And then then do me a favor and set that aside. Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's on your mind right now? Just for now, we're going to put that on pause. We call that an amen. Kind of like say whatever it is that's kind of tugging at you. I'm going to set that aside so there's a little more freedom. So you're not just constantly your mind's half somewhere else. So you do it in the mountain. You go there. Right? That stuff, I don't need to do that right now. So in our relationship with God, what Jesus has done on the cross, it says, it's finished. That means at any moment, you can set everything aside. You could say, everything else I need to do is not going to speak into my relationship with God. It won't speak into my eternity. It won't speak into my identity. It's stuff I'm going to do. But I literally can set that aside because the most important thing is settled. And if I dial into that, and it doesn't mean that these responsibilities go away, but I have to say, okay, the most important thing is done. So I literally can put everything in the world aside for now, knowing that the most important part is done, and I'm going to dial into that element of it. And from there, and then I can revisit this stuff later. I think that's the place of peace because when I realize the most important part is done, and that the second part of that is God's got the rest of it. He's handling my business, my kids, my family, my finances. I'm all set with him. That's all set. I could be wrong. I think the place of peace starts with the place of truth. And so if I can remember what's true, then I can experience what's peaceful.
That's good. So that really kind of ties into my initial thought on it, which is immediately when I hear this verse, I think back to Exodus and I think of Moses standing at the bank of the Red Sea, right? And God says, be still. And then in the very next verse, move forward. Tell the people to move forward. So it's almost like God has kind of a confused version of what be still looks like. But that verse, that word, be still, really means just relax, be confident. And just be confident, trusting, knowing that it is finished, and then move forward.
Well, agreeing with what you're saying is, if you read this verse wrong, you'll mess it up. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations, not you will exalt me among the nations.
Oh, wow.
I will be exalted among the nations.
With her,
I will be exalted in the earth. I'm
the-
going to do it.
in the earth.
Yep. So it goes into be still, know that I am God. Because what a lot of it is, especially if you have a heart for God, a lot of what we're doing is I want to be a good father. I want to please God. I want to be a well done, good and faithful servant. I want to be a good worker. I want to be all these good things. And that's that be still. Hey, you're joining me. You're not leading. You're following. So remember you're following, not leading.
What did Judge say in his online verse of the day?
So this is Judge response.
Okay.
Whatever Joe says, agree with. Wow, that's
Wow,
impressive. I
he
can't
is
believe
wisdom.
it.
You know, one day wouldn't it be amazing if on a Tuesday
He actually wrote
he
something.
would put something in there
That'd be
like
so
that,
funny.
like
Ryan, listen to
prophetic
Ryan.
word, yeah. Would that happen?
He says, as we search for our Lord, he encourages us to stay calm and have confidence in who he is. He is and always will be praised everywhere.
That bit of have confidence in who he is. I was pulling that from the main verse as well. I've been talking to a bunch of people this week by weird happenstance who just totally are questioning God, and they're just like, I don't see it. And one of their criticisms that they bring up is just the fact that, like, well, how are you supposed to know? And what are you supposed to know with the second coming? And there's all these dudes that say that they're God, and they're just like some cultist guy out in the desert. And it brought me to it. I've been thinking this week with it, and there's other verses that point to it, that we will know. And it's like, if there's ever any doubt, then it's just not who he is in the return. You know, it's the heavens and the earth and all of nature and everything is going to exalt Christ when he returns and exalt him as he is now. And I don't know, that resonated with me, that the earth is giving confidence, like the confidence in the statement of that it is God.
And I will say, we have some Left Behind theology. Love that book series, a lot of fun. Not great theology. The whole everybody's gonna be gone, no one will know it. Matthew 24 says that the world will see him coming and they will mourn.
Yep.
Right?
I don't think people are going to be walking around dazed and confused as to what happened. I think everyone knows they missed the boat,
Yep.
Yeah.
or they're celebrating with Christ
Oh, you
in
mean that
eternity.
door's closed now?
Yeah.
I can't put it off another day?
Yeah.
Jesus literally says
It's
they're gonna
like death,
mourn.
it's fine.
They're gonna be like, oh, I didn't believe in him.
And I don't know about the 144,000 Jews that'll convert. Is that like instant?
I think that's a process. Because
Well,
I think
it's
they're sealed
but-
after the Antichrist.
But how much of a process, if like you say, is true? The whole world knows. What needs to be processed at that point? I'd have to go back and read it, but I'm thinking there is 144,000 people that immediately realize they've been waiting for the Savior that already came, and they missed it.
Two great
And
Bible
now-
verses speak into the human condition.
Okay.
So, the analogy of the parable that talks about, if you send my brother, like raise him from the dead, send him to go send people to tell you Jesus, like they still wouldn't believe. Literally, a resurrected dead person come to how prophetic is that? And the other one is, God speaks from heaven, and people go, that was thunder. Like the human condition is, he's literally spoke from heaven. You all heard, nah, it was thunder. I know it sounded like words. Jesus comes back, and the world's going to mourn, and there will be people that mourn. A lot of people are like, those are aliens.
There's a scientific reason for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it was aliens. It was just the gleaming of the light, from the sun. That's the human condition. Is I am stubborn.
Yeah.
No, I don't believe it.
I'm not sure where,
Why didn't all the world?
The third
Why
of the
didn't
world
every
went
single
to-
person in Jerusalem get saved when Jesus resurrected? Like literally, why didn't everybody?
right.
It's the human condition. They're like, nah.
I guess that would be similar. I don't know. Because they added the rapture and everybody being gone.
Yeah.
And the entire world witnessing it simultaneously. Anyway,
Isn't that funny?
thank you, Judge, by the way,
That's
for
good.
that. That was great. And I know it's a grind, but man, I encourage you, keep on putting those out. Guys tell me all the time they love your verse of the day, Judge. So definitely tough if you've ever tried to boil something down to one sentence.
Yeah.
It takes us a half hour to still confuse you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I like that it was on earth, that it's here, that he's going to be exalted here. It's not like, hey, in eternity,
That's
I'll
right.
be
It's
exalted.
true.
It's now. It's like the
That's a good
abundant
point.
life. It's like John 10:10. This isn't about life insurance that you get to cash in
Right.
when you die.
Right.
And now it really does happen here. And I think non-Christians and people seeking or right there on the fence don't understand how amazing and awesome this life is.
Yep.
The blessing, and even amongst all the crap going on, and everyone's like, this must be the end times, or look at how everything's just going to hell. Constantly there's amazing examples of God being exalted right now.
Right now.
I mean, the life change, I mean, I just look at some of the guys in Holy Smoke that are like absolute changed beings,
Well, even if it doesn't change your
and that exalts God,
circumstances,
right
Yeah.
there. I mean,
absolutely, absolutely. And even if it doesn't change your circumstances, a relationship with God changes your perspective.
it does.
Yeah.
And it's that Paul thing. I've learned how to be content with much, and I've learned how to be content with little. Like, I'm good either way because I'm God's.
Yeah.
Well, it's
His-
essentially you're bound without God to only have happiness, and happiness is always conditional.
Yes.
And the
good.
only way to joy is through Christ, because that is something that's not bound to
If
earthly
it wouldn't,
happiness.
all the Christians would have jobs. They wouldn't be unemployed. And how many unemployed Christians do we know that are walking the walk or the talk, and they're not connected into a job currently?
Yeah.
And it's definitely not a past to life of luxury and
Right.
and guaranteed physical blessings, right? But it's something else, like you said. It changes. You have joy in things that would have actually pissed you off before.
Well, is
And
it?
it's kind of
It's
weird.
kind of like you realize things don't happen to you; they happen for you, because you're a child of God. You know, He has your destiny
Right.
patterned out.
Working all things
When
together
we-
for the good of those who love Him. Right. Well, isn't this Jesus? Isn't this goes back to the verse because we're talking about the things in peace. Jesus says, "My peace I leave you, my peace I give to you. I do not give to you as the world gives, do I give to you. In this world you may have trouble, but take heart because I've overcome the world." And so there comes this dynamic of that peace isn't connected to circumstance. We talked about it's connected to truth. What peace could he possibly be talking about if you think the world is going to hell in a handbasket? What peace? It's that it is finished. You're in the family. I'm working all things together. It's truth is what breeds peace, and so it's that dynamic where we are literally able to have peace and be still because of what's been done. And no matter what's happening in the world around us, that takes it from happiness to joy and say, I'm good. Even when people are like, man, the world's horrible, and I'm like, I'm not saying don't do something about it. I would say don't bitch. I would say do something's better than bitching. Bitching
at least
does nothing.
do something.
Right. The grumbling the Bible talks about. Don't grumble. Christians have been grumbling for a year. Stop grumbling and do something about it, but do something about it from a place of peace. Like, I'm not trying to save the world in terms of like making this heaven. I'm trying to save the world in terms of revealing heaven.
Yeah. Start a Holy Smoke group.
Mm-hmm.
Who can't just invite a bunch of friends to smoke cigars and open the Bible and read it and discuss what God's telling them?
Right.
The simplest thing you could
Seriously.
ever do. It's in a complete ministry.
Yep.
We got some new ones starting up too. I'm pretty excited about
I've
that.
heard.
Anyway, I don't want to advertise, but
No, it's okay to advertise in this group.
it's true.
So it's a lot like banking on truth. So let's say I'm hanging from a steel girder. By definition, that steel girder can hold up my body.
Right.
I can bank my life on that. To bet my life without truth is to say, I'm holding on to a twig. No, it's a branch. No, it's a stick. No, it's steel now. No, it's now back to a twig. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't. There's no stability. There's no truth to bet my life on. And that's a life of without peace.
And can I play on your analogy and say this?
It's like the
Is that
sinking
you
sand.
are hanging from a steel girder, but you reach over and grab this twig and you say, "This is what's holding me up," and you're freaking out. And everyone's like, "No, dude, you got Jesus. You are on the steel girder." No, man, like this is my job,
No,
my family, my life. This is the part that's
This
what's
is
steel.
my truth.
That's right.
This is the real.
Right.
Okay.
I identify with the twig.
I
Yeah.
identify with the twig. This is my truth.
When we talk about there's this passage is applied differently, but trading the truth of trading the lies, the truth of the enemy for trading the truth for a lie, and part of it is that we are literally held by truth, but still a lot of times we set our heart in lies, even in very beautiful lies, family, vocation, money, everything, health. And when that's the lie that we often trade for and say, no, this is why I have so much anxiety and stress and worry, because I'm setting my hope on everything except for the one thing that is actually holding me, which is Jesus.
Well, you know what's interesting too? We have a lot of quiet times. you would think that during COVID that we would have been able to find a lot of peace.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how we, I guess as a church, didn't really use COVID as a chance to get closer to God and to love other people.
Yeah.
We lashed out on social media. We kind of, I was only looking that way.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
wasn't looking at you when I was looking that way. And I'm saying for myself, I mean, if I, we hindsight, right? So if we look back, why didn't we really get quiet and really hear from God and really?
Devin makes a great point about the plague. And
Yeah.
it was a big time of revival for the church.
Christians
'cause
weren't
Christians-
afraid of it. They were the ones
They
that
reached out.
served.
Yeah,
And
instead
before-
of hiding, they reached
Physically
out.
went out and touched when they could have all
What a
died from
blown
it as well.
opportunity.
And I made the example before, and this was well before COVID. The reason why the church is stagnated is we had a bigger plague than the actual plague. We had like the HIV epidemic. And instead of being there
Yeah,
for something that wouldn't kill you just by being a bedside friend,
exactly.
instead of doing that, we just said, no, whoa, whoa, whoa. Everyone associated, no. And it's
Yeah.
like, really? If you love them so much, you're supposed to, regardless of what's causing it, your love for them should overpower that.
Yes.
And then you seek them further because you know if you're so condemning them that they're not going to heaven. If you're able to condemn them and say that to yourself,
Right.
then that should be a further inspiration to seek them out.
Yeah.
And then in COVID, we kind of did. In COVID, we were just apathetic to it all. We just didn't care, and it was sad. And we saw
gotta-
it coming, and I've set the example
Kinda
for
selfish,
years
huh?
beforehand. Entirely selfish.
Kind of selfish, kind of like, well, let's take care of our own. I mean, everybody, like the whole world just went and hid. It's just, it's so interesting because, I mean, we were actually told to do that, but that doesn't mean, we should have been looking to our own mind and heart
Be
and
led by
God.
the Spirit, not
Yes,
by fear. I mean,
not like, hey, go
it's
hide.
like fear, which comes from our enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't come from Christ. Controlled the world, continues to do so, maybe
Yeah.
lesser, but certainly for that year,
Yeah.
it controlled the entire world.
Yeah.
And
Planet
you've
And
got
I know
to-
nobody really wants to hear more
No,
people talking
We're,
about COVID,
we're processing. It's okay.
but,
You've got
it was a
the,
thought.
the
But
churches
now-
who did oppose it, right? And we're not just saying, "Oh, let's care for them," blah blah blah. Well, they ended up. What they did is they then take this stance of being against the government and call it a Christian persecution of sorts. And it's like your church isn't open so that you can inspire your regular believers to continue to give in a potentially financially scarce situation. Your church is supposed to be open so that you can reach the people who don't have a church already. You're not supposed to stand up as a zealot.
You're in the middle of a leper colony is more the idea than it is to just get tithes.
Did you say
Yeah.
leprechaun?
Yeah, like
Leprechaun.
Like the little green guy?
Yes, yes.
A leprechaun.
a leopard colony.
Oh, le-
oh, there are cats running everywhere.
Yeah.
Big
Big
cats.
Did you
Ah!
say a leopard?
I did
I'm
see
sorry.
that this last week.
This
People
is
were
how things
talking,
get derailed. I
so-
Someone
swear.
had made a meme, and it was making fun of Christians now, and it showed a picture of some pastor, triple masked up, behind plexiglass, talking to his congregation, and then it said Christians then, and it was a nice, beautiful oil painting of Jesus touching a leper.
So
And it's like, what happened when not even just Jesus, that was the meme, but it was the disciples as well. Literally go out and touch lepers, physically touching them.
Yeah.
They could have reasonably said, power of Jesus Christ like this, but they grab them
Yeah.
to make a point,
Yeah.
and we are too afraid to do anything.
I think part of it was I saw an image, I don't know, probably on social media. It was a picture that someone took of a church sign. Now some people get creative with the
Yeah.
church signs. And it was so simple. It said, love each other. Let God work the rest out.
So good. That's a good
Just-
word.
Yeah, just love each other. That's what we were called to do.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's interesting is because historically persecution is all right. I'll wrap this has revealed God's heart, and what I've heard over this last year is, hey, we're being persecuted. We don't know about Jesus. We're not hearing about God. Like that, the persecution and the suffering and the pandemic and all that stuff was a way to quell Christianity and the love of Christ. And I'm like, No, we just handled it wrong because historically, when that has happened, that's when people saw Christ the most. We just didn't respond well. But typically, Satan be like, "I want to persecute the church," and typically it's like that's when you saw the best stuff. Like everybody, their true colors came out, and I think our true colors did come out,
A little bit.
and they were ugly, and we didn't like them. And so hopefully we can learn from that and say, "All right, going forward, let's be different." That's simple.
Yeah.
We don't have to dwell on it. So all right, let's learn.
I do want to add that I did not hoard toilet paper. I just want to make sure that I'm on the record as not have been a toilet paper.
I refuse to wipe. That's how I contributed.
Well, closing thought, because we try to limit this to 30 minutes, so you guys
It's 12:30 now. Yep.
Yeah.
Any thoughts before we go? Everybody wipe. Hey, have a great day,
Oh
guys.
my gosh! Yeah.
Take
you wanna
care.
try
Thanks
that?
for being here.
Keep wiping.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next Tuesday at noon.